And we are live. Good morning on your TVs in Texas and Louisiana. Thanks for joining. You're on the Smart Money Culture. You're watching on the Smart Money Culture TV network. The great Fly Mackey's doing a wonderful job over there, and we're super excited about it. With the channel, growing the channel, and doing all these other things. And as well, we are streaming around the world on LinkedIn, YouTube, and all the rest, right? YouTube, LinkedIn, X, of course, my favorite platform of all time. And so we have a great show today. I'm going to welcome fairly quickly Oz Sultan. Oz Sultan is he's a longtime friend of mine, and he is a political he's a political consultant. Ran for office himself. He's a political insider, and he is a Republican delegate as well. So I'm going to have him on real quick. You know, one of the things that we covered last week was the fact that the delegates in New York, or not the delegates, I'm sorry, but the people running in New York were many of them were disqualified, and their primary was canceled. So they were disqualified, and their primary was canceled. Pretty crazy. And so we're going to have Oz on, and he's going to talk about it as well. We have the great Matt Dixon joining. And I believe we also have Liz Steininger. See you soon. All right. Let's see here. Just getting the links out to everybody here. So it will be an action-packed show, and this is a big week. We have consensus this week. Consensus in Austin is this week, and that is going to be absolutely crazy. I'll tell you, I'm already at the point where I'm having trouble sleeping. I'm up, thinking about, of course, I have my gala. We have the Washington Elite Gala, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. I should put the banner up here. If you do want to get this 15% discount, you can still get it for consensus. You have to follow the link, though, in order for it to autofill Bruce. You can't just put in Bruce for whatever reason. It doesn't work. You have to follow the link. So you can look on post below or above or wherever you're watching and check that link out, and that will work. Let's see here. Mr. Oz Sultan. There he is. Boom. On your WhatsApp. Trump has gone full crypto. He has gone full crypto, and this is really interesting because here's a guy. He got in. He wasn't really pro crypto. And actually, if you remember, as they were leading in for a Biden win, they really pumped the market really hard. They pumped the market really hard. He has gone full crypto. He says, as he was speaking the other day, he said, "Free Ross, free Ross." Ross Ulbright is one of the he was one of the Silk Road guys. They scapegoated for it anyway. They sent him to jail. A lot of the other guys, I know many of them, no jail time or anything whatsoever. Hey, listen, I'll tell you this. I think it's probably good. I'll tell you this. When I had friends in the White House, and in the last one, and I had a special meeting. Never told Ross's mom or anything, but because who cares if it doesn't get done, right? So I had a special meeting with them, with people in the cabinet about Ross, and nobody wanted anything to do with it. So the fact that that's coming around is fantastic. It's fantastic. The poor guy has been rotting away in jail. He was young, and obviously he wasn't the one doing the things on that platform. People were using the platform. He was instrumental in putting it up there. So certainly there should be something possibly, but people do a lot worse. So free Ross, very, very happy to see that. see that happen. I mean, that's just absolutely, it's huge. It's huge. So that's great, and also interesting, as I say. Um, as well. Let's see, so he's gone full crypto. That, all right, all right. Bitcoin is a little tepid today. Asian stocks are up. Of course, they're open. The U.S. stock market is not open today. It's a holiday, so the markets are a bit mixed. Anyway, you go. The U.S. dollar is sliding fairly significantly, even since I started the show. We can see the DXY here. And Matt will talk more about this. I see he's logged in the background. The DXY is down about 0.11, which for the dollar is a decent amount. For the dollar, it's a decent amount. All right, so I see my friend Oz Sultan has stepped on here. We're going to bring him on our first segment. We have an exciting show today. We have Oz Sultan, and then we'll have Matt do his market watch, which is always very interesting, and then we have Liz Steininger, and I'm excited about that one as well. Let's bring on Oz, Sir Oz. What was that? All right. Well, we'll give him a minute to make his coffee. Oz is warming up. There he is. All right, Mr. Oz Sultan. How are you, Oz?
Not too bad. How are you doing?
Fantastic, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, bro. It's been quite a while.
It's been a little while, but you know how us crypto guys are. We come out of hibernation after the crypto winter, and we start making the big bucks again. That's the way it works, you know.
Yeah, now it's everything's looking in the upswing right now.
Right. You got to be swinging right now. That's the deal. So we'll be in consensus this week. Pretty excited about it.
We'll have a couple guys down there. I'm involved with Quantum Expeditions. It's a Bitcoin mining group.
Yep.
We're actually in the middle of a crowd race, but it's actually already profitable. Not
Great.
profitable this month, profitable next month because of the halving. But it was like kind of a quick rebound on that, which was kind of nice.
Those are always the nice ones. I'll tell you what, in a bull market, I always tell people, they ask me what to buy. I said, you just buy. You know, it's a bull market. You just buy. So we have these, the segments are short. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, we had one of the political people running for Congress in New York on Saturday. And or on Friday rather, and a bunch of people have been disqualified in the New York race. And so I reached out to you. I said, "What's up with this?" So tell me a little bit about what your experiences with that. Of course, Oz ran for office as well. So and you're now a political consultant. So what can people do to get on the ballot and stay on the ballot?
So there's a couple things to think about. So when you are looking to run wherever you're looking to run inside of the United States, there's either running as a Democrat, running as a Republican, or running as a third party. Now, in the state of New York, we had a tremendous amount of trouble under the Cuomo administration. He wanted to get rid of the Working Families Party, which is it's like a mix in between hard left and communist, just depending on it's like a kind of on the spectrum, right? And
Semantics.
yeah, but at the same point in time, we have the constitutional, conservative, libertarian, and a couple other parties in New York. I mean, I've run in the rent is too damn high party before, right? And it's in a lot of cases it's so that you can appear on the ballot multiple times because you're going to appear on the ballot for every one of the parties that you show up for. So in certain cases third party candidates will they might go libertarian, Working Families, and something else, or they might go conservative, um constitutional, and they may get the Republican line as well. So it's interesting because depending on where you are in New York, your ballot can look a little different based on that. If you want to get into the game, Democrats have a higher preponderance of signatures that they need. And in New York State, their battles for even just district leaderships, which I am for the GOP in Harlem, or get pretty bloody and they get pretty expensive. Like, and district leader is kind of like the lowest on the totem pole of like elected leaders that you have inside of the party. So, and there's two sides to this, right? So there's regular elected positions, so that could be anything from city council to state rep, assembly, state senate, but it could be local things like sheriff, dog catcher, fire marshal. Like in many cases, these are elected positions that are out there. Then on the opposite side, you have your state party establishment. So I am a committee person, I'm a district leader, I'm an RNC delegate, right? These are different designations, because as you get involved in the party, you move up. Like you can become a committee person, you can vote on local things like who should be our county chair every 2 years. Who do we vote for our board of election representatives? Because we actually install like a GOP representative in the board of elections. So you can get involved on both sides. Now, to the question of like ballot access, because that's really what it comes down to, and why I gave you this big diatribe. The smaller parties are having like they were defrocked of ballot access by Cuomo, meaning like it's very hard for them to get on the ballot. And typically, if you are R or D, it's going to be a preponderance of the proportion of the population related to how many people are registered to vote for your party. So in New York City, like if I was running upstate, I'd have to get a lot more signatures. But in New York City, you can run for most Republican positions with like close to 1,000 to a couple thousand signatures, which isn't too bad. And that's what you have to get. And then typically what we advise people, and this is even when I ran, you want to get like 20 to 25% additional signatures on top of what
See,
you're
now
supposed.
that's the key right there. That's why you hire a political consultant to tell
Yeah.
you stuff like that. Because I some of the people I talked to, I won't name names, but they told me they had exactly the number.
You're going to get challenged. You have to remember you're going to get challenged by two groups of people. You're going to get challenged by the opposition, right? The Dems are always trying to throw Republicans off of ballots. We have seen this consistently across the United States, right? It's like, oh, if there's no one to run against me, I win, that kind of a
Right.
thing. But then on the opposite side of this, there's a disqualification process for fraudulent signatures, signatures of dead people, things that have happened in the past, or people who are the wrong party. And in most cases, it's usually the wrong party because there's a process by which you have to go and you have to harvest. Like you get this from the board of elections, but you have to filter through and you have to figure things out. And I got to tell you, like we had FOIA requested the Cuomo administration just to get the death lists during COVID because we had candidates like running and they were like, take us to court. Like they won't disclose this kind of stuff. So, you're gonna, there's data cleanup, there's things that you need to do to do that. But the biggest reason this happens is that there's a challenge and they'll say, okay, well, you know, we challenge 5,000 of your signatures. Assume you're going to get challenged. Okay. And then there's that process to go through. Now, and the
Mhm.
secondarily, there's in areas that aren't populate very well, or in sometimes in urban areas, this happens to us too, is that state party can nominate someone, right? So in certain cases, what you'll have is that you'll have someone who says, "Hey, I'd like to get the signatures," and state party is already in the process of nominating someone. The state party candidate is the one who's going to get pushed through. In some cases, they have to be primaried. In some cases, your state party is strong enough that they're going to eliminate the primary. And this happens on the Democratic side all the time. It occasionally happens on the Republican side. So those are the things that you kind of have to like get through. And then, the signatures are, I mean, they can be expensive. Like if you wanted to run for senator in New York, you'd have to go out and get like 15,000 to 18,000 signatures, realistically 20,000, because they're going to challenge at least like a couple thousand of your signatures. And you figure that when you're not in a place like New York, there's like there could be up to like a quarter mile in between houses in upstate New York. So this is a very expensive endeavor for people, which can cost. I mean, there's one candidate I worked with who ran for public advocate, which in New York City is like right next. It's like public advocate becomes the mayor if the mayor ever has to step down. And I mean, he put out $50,000 just to get his signatures. You know,
Wow. I mean,
so
it's Trump change, right? When you're running for office, I feel like it is. There's just so much money. There's so much money in there. Pretty interesting.
not on the grassroots level though. On the
Okay.
grassroots, that's what makes it challenging for, when you're in cities and you have to get that preponderance of signatures for like city level races in very large cities like New York City. Because typically that's like state level. And then, if you want to run for like higher public office, I mean, the biggest problem that because I've worked on third party presidentials before. Like I've worked on Brock Pierce for president, and honestly, he was kind of like a support Trump vote,
Mhm.
more than anything else. And I was in President Trump's 2016 campaign. Um, what it comes down to, a lot of people don't get. It's just like if you want to get on the ballot for a presidential, like I'll just give you an example. I mean, there's different signature requirements by state. Florida, you have to get 50,000 signatures
Right.
just to get on the ballot, right? And then there's the whole rep process, and like you're going to want someone to run your territory. Just canvassing, and then I mean we can get into this at a later date, but just remember, like there's the stuff that you run for that's public. These are all the public elected offices, but
Uh,
there's also this political apparatus, and there's elections on these types of things that happen too, but that's all private typically.
okay.
Um,
And those
yeah.
those have so much influence. I mean, these are like, you know what I mean? That can influence so much. So let's do this. We have to get to the market watch portion. You know how TV works. It's like boom, boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom, right? So let's have you on again. Tell me a day this week, whether it's tomorrow or the next day. We can chat, and then
Wednesday
let's
would be
continue.
good. Wednesday would be good.
Wednesday would be good. Wednesday works for me as well. It'd be real early for me. I'll be in Texas, but I'll be doing it. So let's plan on Wednesday. We'll have Oz Sultan back on. Follow. What's your Twitter or your X?
It's Oz for NY, so it's OZFORNY.
Oz for NY. He's a great guy. I've known him for a long time. Oz Sultan. We're gonna have him back on the show on Wednesday. Thanks so much for coming on, and we're gonna continue the discussion.
Thank
And you
you.
guys can add him on Twitter as well and ask him any questions you might have.
All right, talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Oz.
Bye.
Sir Matt, the great Matt Dixon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning. Morning, everybody. So,
Yes. Good morning and good afternoon to you. I'll let you go ahead. Yeah, I'm running. I couldn't sleep last night. I just kept thinking about all the details of like my gala and everything. You know how you get. It's like, you know, yeah. Hopefully that stops. But
I mean, I've been just thinking about what's been going on with obviously the ETF, Ethereum ETF approval now.
yeah,
Obviously, we've had the Bitcoin ETF approval, and I was just I like to try to think outside the box. Because everybody, and myself included, were thinking, right, this is the floodgates opening. It's amazing and it is amazing for all those early adopters who got in there and bought Bitcoin like yourself, Bruce, in the early days and
yeah,
held on to it. So it's amazing for those guys. But I'm just trying to think about the sort of health of the ecosystem moving forward. And I just got to thinking that now we're seeing more and more institutional adoption. These big guys are grabbing hold of that limited supply. There's only 21 million ever going to be in existence. They're grabbing hold of massive swathes of the Bitcoin, and probably that's going to be the same for Ethereum moving forward. And I'm just wondering whether, the whole point of Bitcoin in the first place was to try to avoid the problems of centralization, of corruption and bias and all that kind of thing, and bring in decentralization, power to the people, and democracy and all that. So where we control our own fate and have control of our own money. And that was what it was all about. And now we're seeing this institutional adoption. And there's conflicting things. You know, I remember that Gandhi thing saying, you know, first of all, I think they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, and then eventually they give in and you win. And that's kind of where crypto adopters are feeling right now. They feel like they've been through that very cycle of things and feel like they've won. And in a way, they have won, but you just wonder whether that victory may be a little bit hollow, because if they're getting control now, they can actually manipulate prices. They're holding all of the Bitcoin, or they will be holding all of the Bitcoin eventually. And, you know, it squeezes the retailers out. Retailers will be completely at the beck and call of what these big institutions do in terms of moving price. So,
well, it's like when you take it's kind of like even a takeover of a stock, right? And even like what Elon did with Twitter, he like initially bought a lot of big stake in the company, and so that's kind of what they're doing. Like, okay, they figured out, yeah, we can't control it. Yeah, so now they're buying so much of it that they're going to have more and more control. And actually, as you know, and as many of you may know watching, you know, Bitcoin, I mean, it can't be changed so much. And we do a hard fork or something like that, the old code will probably continue. But there has been, you know, constant, even kind of very political inside Bitcoin battles on what happens to Bitcoin and the variations to the code. And that's how we got Bitcoin Cash. That's how we got BSV. So now we have, just like you said, absolutely a new class of big holders that we've never had before.
Yeah, and it's just with such a limited. I mean, it's not like GameStop, where, you know, that GameStop saga where basically they were buying. So Robinhood, you know, all the punters everywhere, massive community were buying up through Robinhood, were buying up GameStop and pushing the price up. And this is when the big institutions had shorted in a big way. But even there, it didn't have a happy ending, because behind the scenes you had Citadel. If you remember, all the transactions actually went through Citadel at the end of the day. They were actually linked with some of the hedge funds that were shorting it. And so, if you remember, they removed the buy button. They only left the sell button on Robinhood, and that was really very, very controversial. Why they did
forgot about that. Yep.
It was absolutely shocking, and this just shows that, you know, short term, the punters, the community, the ordinary people, they won massively, you know, as the price went up and went up, but the institutions just didn't allow it. And all they did, I think they got together behind the scenes. You know, there's no questions were answered. They got together behind the scenes. Citadel were protecting the hedge funds that they were themselves were invested in. They ensured that Robinhood removed the buy button from GameStop. You could only sell it, so the price came all the way back down. The short sellers won out again, and all the community, the ordinary people, they lost out again. And this seems to be the way of things. Unfortunately, you know, crypto was a way out for people. It was decentralization, get away from this corruption of centralization. But again, now you're seeing the big institutions getting involved. They will be controlling the prices. I don't think it's altogether bad news. I do think it's bad news personally. I don't like the fact of institutions holding all of the Bitcoin, all of the Ethereum.
Me either. I agree.
So I do think that there's still.
Stop selling your Bitcoin to these guys.
It's shocking, isn't it? And they'll just squeeze everybody out.
Yeah.
But at least there are still a lot of the smaller cryptos that are still a major opportunities. So Bitcoin, if it went to 250,000, you're talking. What are you talking now? Sort of 4x around there, 4x from where we are. But some of these new ones, I mean, I know Solana was like a needle in a haystack, cost nothing initially, and it's now $160 or whatever. I'm probably going to go quite a bit higher. So massive.
Doggy's going to $1.
Massive X potential. So there are still tokens that institutions will not be touching.
Not financial advice.
Yeah, they won't be touching them because they're outside their risk parameters. So whilst I think we're being squeezed out of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and yes, the early adopters will be smiling, but eventually they'll cash out and cave into the big holders. You have to cash out, otherwise, what's the point of holding it? Eventually, you've got to see some benefit from it. So they'll be maneuvering those prices. The big institutions will be maneuvering them, but there will still be opportunities. There's still thousands of cryptos out there. We're eBay ratings rate over 700 cryptocurrencies. There'll be lots of other opportunities. So it's not the end of
I
the road.
actually think I thought about it over the last week or even the weekend or the week. I think, and a lot of it has to do with what you're saying, but really, I think that now is when we start to see. We didn't really see it in the last run either. The alt season, I felt like I didn't see it, but now we're really going to see the alt season because exactly right. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to buy something like Bitcoin that I think, yeah, sure, it's going to hit $250,000. Is it going to hit it in this cycle? I don't know. But these other alts, a lot of them are going to. I mean, Solana was down below $1. It's like almost $200 right now. You know what I mean? That's 20x. There's going to be a lot of different assets that are going to 5x, 20x, 100x from here, and they're going to pull from that liquidity that open, and then that way it has opened the floodgates. I do think as well that coins like Doggy, I call it the Doggy, I know, but the Dogecoin, I think these other ones, Solana, they're going to get ETFs as well. So that's going to be pretty interesting too.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have hold of some of these tokens in the run-up to the ETF. So we saw the big run-up for Ethereum before the ETF actual approval. We saw the very same with Bitcoin from 15,000 odd right up to 60 and 70,000 in the run-up to the approval. And so probably a smart game is actually to try to identify ones which will actually likely get approval in the future. And they're probably ones, really interesting ones. They're probably some of the safer bets. And as you say, there's some of those tokens as well, which are really rock bottom, which have potential. So it's all about due diligence, all about doing your research, but there are some major opportunities out there. But we'll just do a little bit of a roundup of the markets just to show where we're at. I mean, you said that DXY is selling off a little bit, and yes, it is selling off a bit. This is the wave count that I have on DXY. This is relatively short term. This is the 4 hour. We've got 3 waves up, and we've got some kind of corrective move down. And I say corrective again because all the overlapping here, this move down was overlapped by this move up, and this move down was overlapped by this move up. There's all sorts of overlaps there. So that's very, very corrective. So it tells you there's still probably higher to go later, but at the moment we're in a corrective down move. And I think it's a WXY. So you have ABW, then an X wave, then ABY to the downside. So I do think that probably we have a bit lower to go on dollar index before we get a bit of a push higher. Longer term, I mean, we'll just scroll out a little bit to look at the longer term, but the implications of this before I do is that if we see a further sell-off in dollar index, that's usually good for crypto. So it means we're likely to see some upside reasonably soon, further upside reasonably soon for crypto. But when dollar index starts to move up, then we might see a bit of downside. When we see the big move down, then we see upside. But we'll scroll out gradually just to show. I think I'll need to just open it out a little bit so you can see what I just showed you. So what I just showed you was basically I'm expecting this down move, which already started from here. I've been expecting this and it's happening. But I do think it's a WXY correction. So I think we will push up again. And you'll probably see in better context if I really scroll out and look at the real long term on this. And we've done it many times, shown this parallel channel right the way back from the financial crisis back in 2008-9. So right back then, and we've pretty well held within this parallel channel on dollar index. So what we're doing now is messing about with price round about the middle of the channel. But I do think that we're going to test the bottom of the channel before the top of the channel. So I do think we're going to see this again is looking reasonably long term now. We're going to see a retest at the bottom of the channel. That would be really good for crypto. So I do think that we'll see what Bruce has said. Apart from Bitcoin and Ethereum rallying strongly, I do think we'll get an alt season, altcoin rally with the fall in dollar index that we'll see. So that is probably going to be spurred by news that we see coming out of the Fed. So if we're expecting weaker dollar, that's going to be driven by an expectation of lower interest rates. So what's going to drive the lower interest rates? Well, we need then to see what's happening with inflation and growth. So later this week, we've got GDP. I think it's Friday, the latest GDP estimate. It's been falling sharply. So let's see what that is. If GDP is still really soft, then that would mean less chance of, more chance really of lowering interest rates at the next Fed meeting. And if that's the case, then dollar would fall. So that's in line with our thesis. The other news we got, I think it's on it's only about a week's time. We've got PCE. coming out, which is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation. So if that comes out softer than expected, once again, it'll mean that we're going to get a weakening of the dollar, and it actually probably means strength in crypto and risk assets. So it's all lining up really, and I do think we're probably going to begin to see a softening of, growth and a softening of inflation. So this, it's not quite a soft landing, because a soft landing, you'd want to maintain growth, you'd want to maintain employment at the same time as softening inflation. But we're beginning to see growth falling away. We've definitely seen employment falling away, getting worse, unemployment rising. So that's not indicative necessarily of a soft landing. There have been some calls of a soft landing, and you normally get this in the run-up to actually a recession. So if the growth of the economy continues to slow, we will definitely see slowing inflation as well, but that's not a good sign.
We lost your audio.
Oh, really? Can you still not hear me?
Just for a second, Jay. It was like, yeah.
Okay. So just really saying that with the softening of the data, that's indicative of a weakening of the dollar, and that should be good for crypto, good for risk assets. So longer term, I think things are looking really good. But then after that, we're talking probably around 2025, we're probably going to see the top of the market. So maybe the end of 2024, maybe early 2025, we'll see the top of the market. So I think the markets still have some way higher to go, potentially, if the dollar continues to weaken. But then 2025 looks like it's going to be another major turning point in markets to the downside then. But I think it looks as though we've still got some good fuel ahead of us in the markets to drive prices higher. And that would align with the election. They want things to run well towards the election in November. So that would probably align perfectly with that. So that's the outlook for the dollar. That we've looked really short, medium, long term for the dollar. Let's just have a quick look at Bitcoin, what it means for Bitcoin at the moment. And we'll have to go back to the 4 hour to open it out a bit. Otherwise, it's all too crowded. Doesn't matter about that. There's the Bitcoin price at the moment. So again, things are looking as though we may potentially have a little bit lower to go, or the correction could be complete here. It's actually impossible to tell right now. So if the correction were complete here, so we've already had ABC down to here, then we've moved up in 5 waves. Moving down, we're going to get a good move up. So whether we're finished here or whether it goes a little bit lower to here, medium term, we're definitely looking higher for Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be dumping my position, even if we were to move down a little bit. As long as you're not leveraged, it doesn't matter. This is some kind of corrective move down. So we do expect higher to go with Bitcoin, with Ethereum. Ethereum's done really well lately. Same goes for the rest of them. I'm just running through quickly because I know you've got another guest to come. So same with Solana, looking really promising. We touched our support line that we had drawn in advance. We spiked below it, but we've moved up quite nicely. I think the likelihood is that, as you can see from the arrow, we are expecting higher on most of the cryptos. We'll touch on gold briefly, because gold is actually very interesting. I'll have to go to the daily just to show these divergences here, and just open it out again so you can see. So basically, when we had the price move up here, we had it in the form of an A, B, and we're expecting C down. That C may be interrupted at the moment. Maybe it's going to be in a bit of an interruption. So we had here what's called regular bearish divergence. That told us, because what it showed was higher peaks in price, lower peaks in RSI. That told us as soon as we saw a red candle that price was going to decline, and that's exactly what happened. So that was regular bearish divergence telling us of a price decline. Now you might wonder, where am I going to take profit with this price decline? Well, what happened was we actually then we've got a slight price decline, a decline on RSI troughs and an appreciation in price troughs, So that again is basically, this one is called hidden bullish divergence, this one. So let me just check. Overall, this is regular bullish. So this is regular bearish. We've got regular bullish here. So the regular bullish was telling us a reversal of price here. So what that told us was we had a signal to sell here. And when we got this green candle, we got a signal to buy here. And so the absolutely perfect signals to sell gold and then to rebuy gold. So it's moving at the moment, so you can protect your little profit here. And so no matter what happens to price, you're guaranteed a profit. So that's the way to trade. I love these divergent signals. They're really good to tell you when to enter and when to exit trades. But if this is an ABC correction, we may actually turn back down lower. But if you protected your position, it doesn't matter, because you can then re-enter, do some DCAing, re-enter a bit lower. We'll have had an ABC and we're expecting higher. So overall, I think the markets are looking bullish. We may get a bit of short-term negativity, but we haven't got time to run through more today, perhaps tomorrow, because I think you've got more further interviews to do today, Bruce. So hope that helps everyone. Bruce's Doge is moving up nicely. Most of crypto. So thank you.
Yeah, it really is. I'm pretty happy with the doggy. I moved some BTC into that as we were talking about it, and that has been a pretty nice move. I think that, and that was also one of the things that started to make me all right. Okay, I think we're getting into alt season, because you can actually get more Bitcoin now by going into the alts. So
yes, I've actually done the same, and we haven't been discussing this at all, but I've actually been taking profits in the likes of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and moving into some of those slightly more speculative ones, because there's some real opportunities to be had. So great minds think alike there, Bruce.
Yep, you got it. All right, well, awesome, brother. Always a pleasure. I'll be doing the show from here in Washington tomorrow again, and then I'll be in Consensus the rest of the week. It's gonna be crazy. Thank you, sir.
Good stuff. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody. All the best.
Talk soon. Hello, Liz Steininger. Very nice to see you. I know it's nice. It's a nice hour there in Berlin, I believe. How are you? Oh no, your audio is not on.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm good. It's lunchtime here in Berlin, so pretty easy. Yeah.
Lunchtime in Berlin. Nice background too. So happy to have you on the show. I know we had a great conversation at the end of last week. We're both going to be at Consensus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you must be about to travel, right?
Yes, tomorrow morning I fly out.
Okay. Yeah. I think me too. I always buy my tickets last minute, so whatever.
Well, you don't have as far to go, so it should be.
I don't have as far to go, but Texas is still far from DC. I was like, oh well, maybe I'll drive, and it was like 20 or almost 30 hours, and I was like, no.
No, the United States is quite large. Yeah.
It is quite large. I think Germany is quite large too. I've been up in the Bavaria area. So tell me a little bit about, I've been a number of places, but also I'm just showing the distance. So tell me a little bit about yourself and Least Authority.
Yeah, sure. I'll give a quick intro, and then if you want to ask me any questions about it that you think I should share, I'm happy to. But yeah, so Least Authority, we are a company now based in Germany, but we were originally founded in the United States. We provide security consulting services to Web3, blockchain, cryptocurrency projects. And we also build privacy enhancing technology. So we have a mission that we really care about privacy. We think it's we believe it's a human right, and that we can use technology to basically enable that further. We also think that security is necessary to facilitate privacy too. So we do a lot with security and privacy, basically.
Well, it's so interesting. It's good to hear too, because we've gotten to the point where you just kind of almost just accept that nothing is private, right? And it's like with my 14-year-old daughter, I tell her, look, honey, like you got to realize, like even your personal text messages, just consider that you are publishing, like everything that you write, you are publishing, and it's just because even just a screenshot or something, and then put out there. But anyway, that's a little different. But the fact of the matter is, like, the right to privacy.
It's very fundamental. And people's concept of what privacy is very difficult to manage in the digital space, because I think when you know that somebody's looking over your shoulder in a physical space, you're reading a book, they're looking over your shoulder, they're sitting in and listening into your conversation, they're opening your front door, you have this different kind of concept of it's right there in your face, literally. And so you can feel the loss of privacy. But in the digital space, it's very difficult for people to conceptualize sometimes that a message is, open for others to see or not open for others to see, especially when they don't necessarily see those others watching at the time. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's a tough one.
it is, right? It is, and we all kind of give away our mighty iPhones or whatever your smartphone is. I mean, it makes your life so much better, and so you think, okay, well, it's fine, and you trade off. So you had some time in DC. You've been in Berlin for quite a while.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the last place I lived for my career and my life was in DC for about 10 years, and then I've been in Berlin now for about 9 years. So it's a very interesting. There's things that are similar between the places, and there's things that are very different between them. So yeah, pros and cons of everywhere, I guess.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And Germany is so beautiful, and DC is really as well. It's
Yeah.
very, very pretty. Very we have 4 seasons. We have all these things. It can get a little hot in the summer, but not too bad.
Yeah, but there's a really lovely ambition of and a kind of ambition of people there in Washington D.C. where very career oriented, also very focused on making the world a better place. Even if they see some opportunity for some self advancement in the midst of it, but there's still some good noble causes there, and that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about leased authority. You guys do audits as well as some other things. Talk to us about that. What advantages would there be?
Yeah, so we're known pretty well for our security auditing services. That can be, that can mean consulting in terms of source code reviews, manual reviews. Also, we look at protocols, smart contracts, wallets. So we look at quite a variety. Also, we do specification and white paper reviews and architecture reviews. What this means for everyday people, I guess, is that we're helping to make the software and the systems that they use in the Web3 cryptocurrency space more secure and make sure that they're doing what they say that they're going to do. And this is incredibly important, just that people can rely on the systems, especially when it's tied to money.
Yeah, it is so incredible, right? We've all seen the hacks. Hopefully, haven't experienced some of the hacks, but we've all seen them happen.
Yeah.
So, Leased Authority has been it's been around for a while, right?
Yeah. The company was originally founded in 2011. The Zcash project split out. I mean, speaking of privacy, Zcash has amazing privacy features to it. And so that split out, and I took over as CEO in 2016. And the company was started in Berlin, Germany at that point in time. We did our first audit, like a security audit in general for distributed systems in, I think it was 2014. And then our first blockchain cryptocurrency audit was in 2015 with Ethereum. So it's been a while.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So first one on Ethereum. How many security audits have you guys done?
Over 225 at this point in time. So in terms of volume, there are definitely auditing firms out there who have done much higher volumes than we have, but we really, like I talked about, like what we care about, our mission, and also like our value system and stuff, that also drives us to want to look at certain types of projects and work in a certain space within the industry. So
amazing.
It's a lot though.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's such an important, it's such an important thing. Yeah. So I see on the website, 225 totally complete audits, security audits, the clients, everything else. So the website is leastauthority.com. You guys can check it out. So now as we head into consensus, I always like to ask people, what makes consensus a success for you in Leased Authority?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. I think at consensus, it's really good there's I see maybe 3 different things to do. One is to learn about the state of everybody's heads, like where is everybody thinking, the state of projects, the state of the space, essentially. Another one is to be able to meet our current clients and potential clients. So to talk to projects about how we've been able to help them in the past, and then to also meet some new projects and see how we could help them in the future. There's a lot of really exciting stuff going on in the space right now, so I'm really excited to have some conversations with people.
It really is. There's always, it's one of the things I loved about the space from the beginning was that there was so much cool technology that coming out of it, and so many really smart people.
Yeah.
And it's always fun, more fun to talk to smart people, right? So you're like, all right, that's pretty cool. And when I really have to step back and like think about it, I'm like, okay, really?
Yeah.
All right, okay. And so that is a lot of fun.
It is, yeah, and I think, yeah, it feels like there's some things shifting at this point in time too. I mean, I am definitely not an expert on the like policy and regulatory side, but it feels like there's some action happening there that I want to get caught up on, both in the U.S. and then of course there's stuff happening in the EU too with AI. And then, yeah, when it comes to the technology, privacy is definitely a much more noted topic these days. And that's been great to see that transition over the last few years, especially the last two.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely, we really can't talk enough about the privacy. I'm going to loop back there, but just for everybody as well, just so you know, the type of people that are going to be here. Of course, we have representatives from the Senate. We have Ron Wyden from the U.S. Senate. Ron Wyden. We have Tom Emer. He's the House Majority Whip. We have Hester Pierce with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. We have Brian Nelson, the Undersecretary of Office of Terrorism and Financial Intelligence with the U.S. Department of Treasury. You have the Commodities Future and Trading Commission. You have, we could go on and on, but a lot of people that are making those decisions. And as well, I see here Brave Software, which is really connected to privacy and everything there. So what are some of the things that least authority stands for or maybe does specifically in the privacy realm?
Yeah, so besides trying to help other projects improve their privacy, we also build privacy enhancing technology ourselves. So for us right now, this means really privacy by design, by default, enabling choices for the users within the software. Also to have some elements of decentralization and using different models of security. I mean, I'm happy to get into details, but the whole blockchain and Web3 space opens up some new types of technology, whether it be advanced cryptography or capability-based security, just really introduces these different approaches to people. So yeah, the privacy enhancing technology angle is really important to us.
Well, and the thing about it is, a lot of times they can be like layers, you know what I mean? Like, okay, possibly like, and that you get into the kind of the identity thing too, right? There's like, I was talking to my friend Kyle Hauptman, he's a presidential appointee, and he says, Bruce, he's like, our system is weird. I go and let's say I want to buy something and they need to see my license, right? And so I give them my license and it has my home address. It has, all this information on it. Because they don't need all that information. All they need is, I qualify. And I think that in that, as we start to put things together, that can help a lot with the privacy as well.
Absolutely. It's going to be a whole different paradigm if some of this technology can actually be implemented in production on large scales. It's going to fundamentally change how we interact with these systems. I mean, what you mentioned, there's a type of advanced cryptography called zero-knowledge proofs. Basically, it allows you to prove that you know something or that you have some data or that something is true without actually sharing the data itself. And the example that you gave right now is a perfect one for that, whereas you have to give all these details to be able to prove it. But if there was another way to do it through this cryptography, then and this stuff exists, this technology exists, and the blockchain, Web3, cryptocurrency space is really utilizing it. And this is something, for Least Authority, we're really passionate about. How do we better enable people to understand these technologies and to utilize them in their systems and do so securely so that we can all count on them working as expected?
Well, I can tell you guys, it's one of the, they've been around, you heard her, 2011. So, I mean, we've seen that little seal, Least Authority, on multiple different sites over the years, or multiple different audits that you guys have done. It must be a very rewarding place to work. How does it feel to work at a place that's had such an influence on the space?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or I should say lead the company, right?
Yeah, I mean, now, I have for the last 7 years. So Yeah, I mean, it feels amazing, to be honest. I've always cared about having an impact on the world, especially through technology. Technology is just, it's amazing, such a part of our, I mean, we got to see the advent of the internet, mobile phones, and now we're getting to live through this, and it's just, it's crazy and it's exciting. And yeah, I'm very, yeah, I don't know, I'm very inspired to see what we are able to do, but yeah, I mean, technology is not neutral. A lot of technologists in the past maybe believed that, but I think the world is coming to understand that how we build technology and how we, approach the user's experience really has an impact on what kind of what that technology is going to do with the world.
Amazing. All right, well, very good. We're about to go on commercial. We go in about 2 minutes into the next hour, which we're about done. How do people find you? What's the website and the social media?
Yeah, so the website for Least Authority is leastauthority.com, leastauthority.com. It's a mouthful to say, which we actually didn't even get to why we're called that, but it's a security principle, by the way, that you want to give systems
Least authority.
Only the authority necessary to perform the intended, like the function that they're supposed to perform, and nothing extra, because then if they get hacked, it's more problematic and widespread. So yeah, least privilege, least authority. Also on Twitter, X, we're at Least Authority. Yeah, so
at Least Authority. All right, well, Liz, thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to seeing you at Consensus. I'm super excited about it. Maybe we'll catch up and sit down again.
We can meet in person.
In real life, as the DGens say, IRL.
AFK, yeah. It was great talking to you, and thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, Liz.
Bye.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.